There are souls born with thunder in their veins. They walk softly, yet the world trembles. Not everyone can hold such grace. You will be feared, misread, even resented. But child, do not shrink. Let your spirit blaze. Let your truth breathe. Your light is not too much, it's divine. You intimidate without trying. It's not because of anything loud or boisterous. You do not pound your chest or demand attention. You simply walk into the room and the air shifts. Eyes turn, though you never ask for them. Something about your presence carries weight, ancestral, divine, unshakable. You carry yourself like someone who knows who they are, even on the days when doubt sits quietly in the corners of your mind. That knowing, that rootedness, unsettles people who are still searching for themselves. It's not arrogance, it's certainty. And certainty is a language many people have forgotten how to speak. You do not speak over others, yet your silence echoes. You do not dominate conversations, yet people lean in when you talk. You do not wear power like a costume. It lives in your skin, hums in your bones, and flows through your gestures. You don't try to be seen, you simply are. And that unfiltered being, that unapologetic authenticity, makes some people nervous because you remind them of everything they've buried, everything they've dimmed within themselves to fit in, to survive, to be liked. People often mistake your presence for pride. They confuse your grace with superiority, but it is not their fault. They have never seen someone who walks like a prayer and breathes like a promise. They have never known that power can be quiet, soft, still, and yet unrelenting. You are not loud, but you are not to be ignored. You are not aggressive, but your truth holds the weight of generations. You stand tall, not because you think you are better, but because your soul refuses to fold. There are those who shrink in your presence, not because you intend to make them small, but because your light is a mirror. And mirrors don't lie. You show people their shadows, their hesitations, their potential, and their fears, all without a single word. That is the weight of being whole in a world that feeds on fragments. You are not meant to be dimmed. You are meant to disrupt, to stir, to awaken. And you will notice it in their reactions. Some will distance themselves, others will belittle you, a few might try to compete. Let them. Their discomfort is not your burden. You weren't made to soothe egos, you were made to stir souls. Your very existence is a challenge to mediocrity. Your presence reminds the world what it forgot, that strength can be elegant, that clarity can be humble, that greatness doesn't need to shout to be heard. You do not intimidate because of what you say or do. You intimidate because of what you don't, because you don't seek approval, because you don't settle for half-hearted love or lukewarm truths, because your standards come from deep within and not from the crowd. That kind of power can't be faked. It can't be taught. It is remembered. It is carried. So when you walk in and people whisper pause or shift in their chairs, don't take it personally. Take it as a sign. You are the wind before the storm, the stillness before the rise. And even when you try to downplay your light, it leaks from your laughter, your gaze, your silence. You were not born to be palatable. You were born to be powerful, and you are. People project their fears onto you. It happens in silence, in glances, in carefully chosen words wrapped in nervous laughter. You walk in truth, and truth is a sharp mirror. Those who have not yet faced themselves feel exposed in your presence. You do not accuse, you do not judge, you simply are, and that is enough to unsettle. Your very being reminds people of what they have not dealt with, of what they've run from, buried deep beneath years of pretending, pleasing, performing. You shine a light without trying, and in that light, their shadows become visible. They will say you're too much, too intense, too serious, too sensitive, not because you are, but because your depth reminds them of the shallow masks they wear. You are labeled difficult because you won't shrink to fit the room. You are called guarded because you don't hand your soul over like loose change. But the truth is, they don't fear you. They fear what you awaken in them. And instead of facing it, they place the discomfort on your shoulders. You'll feel it when people get defensive around you, even when you've said nothing at all. You'll hear it in the subtle jabs, the veiled jokes, the backhanded compliments. They're trying to make sense of something they don't understand, trying to box you in so they can feel safe again. But you were never meant for their boxes. You were made to be wild, whole, and honest. And honesty, especially the kind that doesn't ask for permission, threatens the stories people tell themselves to survive. You are not cold, you are clear, you are not distant, you are discerning, but clarity and discernment can feel like cold winds to those used to fog. You see through things, through people, their words, their facades, not because you're looking for fault, but because your spirit has no interest in surface level. You feel vibrations, not titles. You read energy, not credentials. And when you see too much, those who hide too much often recoil. People will project their fears of abandonment, rejection, failure, and unworthiness onto you because you unknowingly hold up a mirror to their most tender places. You remind them of the work they've avoided, the pain they've numbed, the truth they've silenced. They may accuse you of being hard to love when the truth is they do not yet know how to love someone who doesn't play small. They may call you intimidating when what they mean is, you make me feel things I've been trying not to feel. And still, you must not carry what is not yours. You cannot make yourself smaller to ease their discomfort. That is not compassion. It is self-erasure. You are not here to fix the fear in others. You are here to be whole in a world that trades in fragments. Their projections are not reflections of your worth. They are reflections of their wounds. Do not absorb them. Observe them. Name them, bless them, and walk on. To be seen is a sacred thing, but not everyone is ready to look. Some will misunderstand your clarity as cruelty. Some will label your intuition as arrogance. Let them. Keep standing in your truth. Keep walking in your light. You were never meant to make others comfortable. You were meant to awaken, to disrupt, to remind the world of what's real. You're misunderstood often, not because you speak in riddles, but because your soul refuses to be simplified. You are layered, textured, full of echoes and seasons. People look at you and try to summarize you in a sentence, a label, a role, but you are not a line in their story. You are your own book written in a language many have never learned to read. They don't understand how you can be both fire and water, soft and unyielding, kind and unwavering. And so they call you confusing, complicated, mysterious, but that's only because they haven't taken the time to listen beyond the surface. You feel deeply more than you show. And because your emotions don't always come dressed in noise, people assume you feel nothing. They mistake your calm for coldness, your silence for distance. They do not see the storms you hold with grace, the wars you fight within just to stay tender. You carry your pain like a sacred song, never loud, always real. And those who only recognize drama as depth miss the quiet thunder in your presence. You are not detached, you are discerning, but most people are not used to hearts that don't wear themselves out in public. They misread your solitude as sadness. But you are not lonely, you are aligned. You walk alone because the crowd often moves in directions that do not honor your spirit. You choose peace over noise, truth over popularity. That confuses people who find validation in constant motion. You'd rather sit in stillness than follow what feels false. You would rather wait for depth than settle for what's shallow. That kind of patience, that kind of self-knowing is rare, and rare things are always misunderstood. When you set boundaries, they call you harsh. When you speak truth, they call you cruel. When you walk away from what no longer grows you, they say you're heartless, but they do not see the weight of your decisions, the cost of your clarity. They don't understand that your love has never been loud, but it has always been true. That your loyalty is not about staying, but about staying real. And sometimes being real means leaving. You are misunderstood because you live from the inside out. Your choices are led by intuition, not approval. You trust the pull of your spirit more than the push of the world. And that kind of freedom frightens people who still live by expectations, by rules that never fit them. They want to understand you through their lens, but you were not made to fit their view. You were made to expand it, to stretch it, to remind them that there is more to feel, more to know, more to be. There is a sacred loneliness in being misunderstood, but do not let it make you bitter. Let it make you wise. Let it make you kind in ways that don't require agreement. You attract the broken and repel the insincere. It's not something you choose. It's something in the way you carry your truth, raw and unapologetic. There's a frequency in your spirit that the hurting recognize even before they know your name. You carry a kind of healing that doesn't promise perfection, but offers presence. You don't fix people, but you remind them they are not alone in their breaking. And for some, that's the first time they've ever felt seen. You don't do it with grand gestures. You do it just by being still honest, whole in your becoming. The broken come to you not because you have all the answers, but because you aren't afraid of their pain. You do not flinch at wounds. You've known what it means to bleed quietly and grow anyway. That kind of knowing creates a softness in your gaze, a patience in your silence, a depth in your listening. And in a world that often wants to skip over the uncomfortable, your willingness to sit in the dark is a kind of light. But this isn't easy. Carrying that light means you often hold more than your own sorrow. You become a refuge, a resting place. And though you never ask for it, you become someone's lifeline. And yet at the same time, you repel the insincere, not out of judgment, but from instinct. You can feel dishonesty before it's spoken. You sense pretense in the way someone smiles too hard or speaks too fast. You notice when words don't match energy, when motives are wrapped in charm, but stained with ego. It's not that you're skeptical, it's that your spirit has no tolerance for what is fake. You've walked too long with pain to make space for performance. Those who wear masks feel exposed around you because you don't engage with what's presented. You connect with what's real. You look people in the soul, not in the costume. And for those who've built their lives on pretending, your presence is unsettling. They may call you intense, too serious, even unfriendly, but that's only because they cannot play the roles they're used to playing. You strip down their performance by simply existing. There is no need to confront, no need to accuse. The truth becomes obvious in your silence. Your silence speaks louder than noise. It walks into a room before you do, commands attention without lifting a single word. It is not the silence of emptiness, but of fullness, of someone who does not need to prove themselves to be present, powerful, or worthy. It is the kind of silence that makes people look up, pause, rethink, because in your stillness there is weight. In your quiet there is knowing. You do not rush to speak, because your words are not made of filler. They are chosen with care, each one shaped by experience, each one steeped in truth. People often misunderstand silence. They think it means you have nothing to say, but your silence is not absence, it is presence. It is how you listen deeply, how you observe what is not being said. You hear the tremble behind the laughter, the lie beneath the compliments, the longing under the bravado. You read body language like scripture. You pick up vibrations before sound ever leaves someone's mouth. And because you hear so much, you have no need to fill the space with noise. There are moments when your silence is mistaken for weakness, or worse, indifference. But silence, when it comes from someone who knows themselves, is a form of power. It is a boundary. It is a statement. And often it says more than words ever could. You let others talk, fill the air with declarations and defense. And when you don't respond, they become uneasy, not because you are withholding, but because they sense you already know. You do not need to debate. Your silence says, I've seen this before. I've walked this path. I've already made peace with what you're still trying to figure out. There is a strength in not reacting, in not giving energy to what doesn't deserve it. You've learned that not everything needs a reply. Some truths only need to be held. Some battles are won by not entering the fight. And sometimes the loudest resistance is refusing to engage. That restraint is misunderstood by many. In a world obsessed with shouting, with proving, with taking up space, your silence unsettles. But it also teaches. It teaches patience. It teaches self-control. It teaches depth. People talk about presence like it's something you manufacture, but your presence is different. It's not made, it's remembered, felt, known. You can sit quietly and say more than those who speak endlessly. When you do speak, people lean in, not because your voice is raised, but because it is rare. Because when you choose to speak, you speak from the soul, not the surface. You've made peace with silence, and in that peace, you've found your voice. There is silence that avoids, and there is silence that embodies. Yours is the latter. You do not hide in your quiet. You live in it. You protect your energy, your thoughts, your emotions like sacred ground. You don't share everything with everyone. Not because you are closed, but because you are careful. Discretion is your discipline. Not everyone has earned the truth you carry, so you let your energy speak first. You make others feel seen even when it scares them, not in the way that's performative or loud, but in the quiet way your eyes linger a second longer, in the way your presence invites honesty. You look beyond what people show and feel what they hide. You don't ask for masks to be removed. They fall away on their own because somehow, standing in your presence, people sense there's no need to pretend. You do not demand vulnerability, but you inspire it. You hold space, not with words, but with a kind of grace that doesn't judge, only welcomes. And that is terrifying to those who have spent their lives hiding. Those who've taught themselves to smile through sadness, to laugh over loneliness, to wear confidence like armor over wounds they never had the courage to face. When you look at them, they don't just feel noticed, they feel understood. You don't just hear what they say, you catch what they can't say. And for many, that kind of recognition feels like exposure. Not because you mean to harm, but because they've never been met so deeply before. Some will lean into that light. Others will pull back from it. Some will find comfort in your ability to hold their truth without flinching, while others will run. Because to be truly seen means confronting all the parts of themselves they've worked so hard to avoid. And still, you see them. You see the child behind the cynic, the longing behind the loudness, the fear behind the control. You don't need someone to confess their story. You feel it in the way they breathe, in the way their voice changes when they speak about what matters most. People don't forget how they felt around you. Even if they can't explain it, they remember. Because in a world that often looks through people, you made them feel like they mattered. You made them feel real. For some, that's healing. For others, it's frightening. When someone has never truly been seen before, That first time feels like standing naked in a crowded room. They're unsure if they should trust it, unsure if they deserve it, and that uncertainty may make them retreat, even when all you offered was love. You don't set out to change people, but you do. Not with advice, not with solutions, but by holding up a mirror quietly and consistently. You reflect not who they pretend to be, but who they are beneath the pain, beneath the fear. You remind them of what's still soft inside, what's still sacred. And because you see them fully, they begin to wonder if maybe they are worth being seen. But there's a weight to carrying this kind of light. Because once someone has felt truly seen, they expect you to always hold them in that way. And when you pull back to rest, to breathe, to protect your own energy, they may feel abandoned. They don't understand that your ability to see doesn't mean you can always hold. You need space too. You need refuge too. And not everyone knows how to offer it in return. Still, this is your gift. A gift not everyone can receive with open hands, but a gift nonetheless. You make people feel like their souls have a shape, like their truth has a place to land. You remind them, simply by being, that authenticity is not a threat. It is a balm. You shine a light that calls forth the real, and though it may scare them, it sets them free. Your aura is not too much. It is necessary. It does not overwhelm. It awakens. In a world that often runs from depth, you carry truth like breath. Calm, steady, undeniable. Yes, you intimidate without trying. Yes, people will project, misunderstand, retreat, and resist. But you were never here to be understood by all. You were sent to reflect, to heal, to disturb the false peace of comfort, and to carry a power that cannot be silenced. You are the quiet before the truth rises. You are the mirror that doesn't blink. You are the light that softens and the fire that refines. Some will walk away. Let them. Some will tremble. Bless them. A few will stay, and when they do, they'll meet themselves through you. That is your gift. That is your burden. That is your grace. Keep standing. Keep shining. The world may not always know how to hold your light, but that does not mean you should dim it. You are not here to be small. You are here to be seen, even when it scares them.